Hey everyone, it's David MD Chandler. I'm back from vacation. Yeah, I can't vacation for the entire year, but man, Custom Mania, the very first Custom Mania, led by the Plan Zash Man and our great panelists. It was a rousing success. And to follow that up tonight, we're going to have a little battle between the Plan and the Warsman. Who's going to do a better custom? We're going to be doing that tonight on the program. Of course, we have the man here to gloat about his win, the great Durart, all the way up in Canada. He won the very first Custom Mania. Of course, we have brother, the fig historian himself, Brutus Valentine. That's all coming up next on a very special live edition, post-Custom Mania edition of the Figure Guys podcast.
David Fine Media, taking the spoken word to the next level.
It's the show made by custom fans for custom fans. Every show, a special guest joins the guys to talk about customs, wrestling, memories, and more. And now, the starting lineup for the Bad Boys of Podcast. Introducing, from Sydney, Australia, standing 6 feet tall, weighing in at 220 pounds, he is the Plan Zash Man. Next, from parts unknown, his weight is at $1.98 a pound. The big historian himself, Brother Brutus Valentine. And now, hailing from Music City, weighing in at none of your damn business, the man of 1,000 voices, the apprentice, talking Tyler Peters. Rounding out this fearsome foursome, the leader, the pod daddy, the ruler of Lady Droolers. Give it up, give it up, give it up for Mr. David So Fine. That's Tyler, Brutus, David, and Sash, the Figure Guys podcast. Oh yeah!
Welcome back into a very special edition of the Figure Guys podcast. No, we are not cutting off Zash's face and the rest of his body. Tonight, we are having a showdown between the Plan and the Warsman. Guys, what are y'all going to be doing tonight? And before I introduce the rest of the panel.
Okay, we'll start off with me. I'm going to fix up a Howard Finkel, but I'm going to be just doing his face. And right now, I figured it was only fitting to put some skin and start up my Mr. Wonderful figure that was meant to be done a little while ago.
That is awesome. And before we talk to the other customizer here, Mr. Warsman, I just wanted to give a congratulations to the very first Custom Mania champion, the man who is going to get his Custom Mania belt for his LJN figure, hopefully by the end of the year. Duarte, man, your figures, I mean, everything was amazing. Everyone had great figures, but yours just stood out. I mean, how does it be to be the very first Custom Mania champion?
I won't say they stood out because there were great customs out there. Like Kevin Swill's DDP was incredible, right? Caleb Langford's Jake the Snake. I wanted it right away as soon as he posted it, right? So there was great customs. Like I went into Custom Mania thinking this way. I'm not as great as the other guys, right? My mentality was if I could put as many customs as I can per round, I'll get the pity votes for like, wow, this guy went the extra mile, right? So that's why I went with all three different stables of DX, NWO, and Mega Powers, right? So yeah, it was a fun competition. I'm glad you guys run it right. It was exciting, as you guys could tell by my my video thing. I couldn't believe it. Like when I was talking, because my buddy was over while we were watching, and I was listening to Brutus give the countdown. And trust me, Brutus, I understood equal as tied, so it was okay with me.
Yeah.
Equal sounds better in my opinion too. You know.
Thank you, my Canadian brother. Yes.
Hey, we're all part of the Commonwealth, right? Canada and
right.
Australia.
Long live the Queen.
Yeah. So when I heard Brutus saying the names going back and going down, I'm like, oh my god, this guy's this place, and I was like, Joe Gatter. I'm like, Joe Gatter is 9th, I think you said, or 8th, and I was like, what? And even Zash's reaction, and my buddy's like, who's Joe Gatter? I'm like, Joe Gatter is probably one of the best customizers out there. I'm like, this guy should be top 3 in the competition. I can't believe he's here. And I started shaking. He's like, you think you might do it? I'm like, I don't know. Then I heard Caleb Langford. Then I heard Alan Carpenter. And I was like, holy shit, what is going on? And I was nervous. Like, true story, I ended up throwing like 5 joints for me and my buddy to smoke, right? But it's because of COVID, we're not sharing joints, right? So I don't share anything. So he has this joint. I ended up smoking all of them, but without me knowing, because I was so nervous watching that. When I got to the last 2, and Dash said something like, "These 3 guys must be going crazy." And then when I went to the whole thing, who should say second or first? Like that, those like 2 minutes of those 2 minutes of anticipation was killing me. And then after that, I was just so excited. I didn't fall asleep until like 2 a.m, and it was just because of this competition. But it was fun. I want to thank like everyone that like obviously helped me got this together with the decals with Cincy LGN, the clones from Brian, Peters from I don't know who I got it from, Zash with some molds, like belts from Nick David. What else? Like some stands that they're sitting from Rob Kerr, like Nick Hales for giving me advice, Dash for giving me advice, Gatter for giving me advice, Caleb, all the guys, you know, Kevin Swirls, all those good guys, right? So I want to thank just everyone for the help that they got me into this, right? And Brutus for collecting boards, David, Zash, all the panels like Nick Bartley, Tyler, Smash Ventura, and everyone out there, and Jeremiah, right?
Yeah, there's some big mention there in the help and assistance, and I want to single out Nick David. He's a very quiet, unassuming guy, but his belts are just like he's the belt guy. Full stop.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely. Like I met Nick. I think you guys are gonna have Nick David on soon, or
next week.
Oh, no, really? Yeah. It'd be funny because I met him. I'll let him say the story, but I've gotten at least over like 60, 70 belts of him, of course, right?
Yeah.
Because all my characters gotta have like a belt from their eras. So yeah, like Nick David's probably the best at making belts, at least in my opinion, right? There's other good guys out there, but I highly recommend Nick David, right, for the belts. And he's the one who did the belt for Custom Mania, and I can't wait to get it now because he said he made it out of leather. I am like so excited for it.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing. I mean it's probably one of the best belts that I've seen. But Sash, we're here tonight, you know, to.
Oh, sorry. One more thing I have to say, and with the shading. When I did the chest here and everything, I was doing paint, right, the whole time, and it was looking bad. And I was asked Sash for opinion, and my girlfriend was beside me. She's like, why don't you just do pastels? I'm like, I can't use pastels with shading. And she's the one who actually did the shading on my Shawn Michaels and Scott Hall for my NWO, and she did all the shading work. So I want to give a big thanks to my girlfriend for actually helping me out with this.
Disqualification.
Yeah, get out of here.
He had help.
Get out of here.
I can see my messages popping through now. 10 a dozen.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some kind of a. I mean, can we go? I mean, that seems like something like Jack Tunney would do, some kind of underhanded, you know. I mean, but hey, you wanted fair and I guess almost square, but I mean, the belt's already on this way to Canada. I can't get it back, so.
Oh yeah, and I also want to thank Joseph Palmieri for those for the trophies he sent out, Warsman for the heads for donating, and then Zash and anyone who donated money, Brutus for the book, right, for the second place and everything else, right. It was a fun event. I got everyone involved, right. Everyone was excited, so it was a cool little competition. I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, it was super big, and Zash really did well putting it together. And then and the team last week, when my internet dropped out, really shut itself completely. And as guys can see now, I'm just going to use the iPad until we can get something fixed up here. But you know, the quality of it was unbelievable. and so many good figures entered and so many excellent figures. And you mentioned some of the names there before. And so I think Zash might be working on a few more ideas for the future.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Zash, I mean, we brought Warren on here tonight, because as you saw earlier, he had a Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff LJN on his table. He called it the operating table. Of course, sadly we did lose another a legend. Paul Orndorff passed away today at the age of 71. So we just wanted to send a shout out to his family and to all his fans. I mean, I know a lot of people that watched and listened to the podcast are big Paul Orndorff fans. So, but I mean, it's a sad night for wrestling. I mean, he was in a great feud with Hulk Hogan, and when he turned on him, I mean, it was just go back and type in YouTube. I mean, you're going to be able to, and yeah, Mr. Wonderful, that's amazing. I mean, he had some great feuds. I mean, he turned on Hulk Hogan, like I said. He's in WrestleMania 2. I mean, he was a great wrestler. He, like we were talking about, he was in shape. That was his thing. But he was one of the legends who didn't have a world title. He didn't win the WWF championship in his career. So I mean, it's sad that he's lost. But hopefully he's in a better place and tuning into the podcast tonight. But without further ado, Zash, I mean, we did bring on Warren because he was on the show last week. In one of the rounds as a guest. What we are going to do tonight? I mean, this concept that you sent to me. I thought it was amazing. I mean, what are you two great customizers going to do tonight on the program? And folks, we want to see and hear your questions. If you have a question for either Zash or Warren or the Customania champion or Brutus Valentine, just hit us up on the comments and we'll put them up and ask them on the screen. Zash?
Yeah, like I said, I'm just doing a Howard Finkel. I take a long time doing faces and skins and stuff like that because I put a few different layers of colors on them and stuff. So I'm just going to go through that, and because I've had a few people ask what I do and so forth, so I'm just going to go through a bit of dry brushing and this and that, and show some processes of that. I might touch up a bit of the Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff too while I'm at it if I get time. But other than that, I'll put it over to Warsman and see what he's up to.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
Hey, Warsman. You got a
I
piece
am working on a
there.
Duke the Dumpster Drozy head, and ECW Francine, Men on a Mission Mo, Stevie Richards and Raven, and Ivan Koloff.
Beautiful.
And I work on a lot of heads at a time just because the paint has to dry, so I set it down and move on to another one. Originally, we were going to be on here, Tom and I, to discuss our process, but I'd like to send a get well soon out to Tom. We want him to bounce back and get back in the sculpting chair as soon as he can.
Yep.
But I'm just going to work on painting heads and take questions or talk if you guys want to talk.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm going to just nip out for 1 second because I've forgotten to grab my super duper high focused magnifying glass. So give me a couple of seconds and I'll be back with you.
Alrighty. On that note, Dwart, what is the next? Is there a figure that you're planning on working on next? I mean, I know you did all these for Customania, so you may be a little tired right now, but is there one you're focusing on next? And of course, we have Customania, LJN Customania Backlash, which is is going to be coming up soon, where it's going to be a vote competition. Is there anything that you're working on?
Well, I was going to show some customers I was going to work on, but then out of nowhere, someone says another competition. I'm like, now I got to hide my work again, right? But I have 3 figures that I have a few figures I've been working on right now, right? That I may enter, but the one I'm not going to enter, but that I'll show what I'm working on right now is I'm doing a Pillman, as you can see.
Oh, right. Yep.
Still got to do his hair and whatnot. He's one of the figures I'm working on right now, but obviously now that Customania Backlash was happening, I can't show what I'm going to do, right? But this is a work in progress. I'm using a Macho Man body, obviously, and it's a Brian Pillman head that I got from Joe Gatter.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see Customania Backlash coming so soon, but it's kind of like the WWE. They have WrestleMania Backlash, but folks, it's going to be coming up in the next couple weeks, and I mean, it's going to be amazing. It's just going to be on a voting scale, kind of like LJN for Life does on their contest. It's gonna be amazing. Kind of the rules are if you're eliminated, don't show who you created. I mean, you can do it at the end of the contest, but it's going to run for a little bit, and we're going to have a couple of those Customania Backlashes over the next couple, 3 or 4 months. So it's going to be amazing. Zash, what are you doing? I see you got your glasses on, your magnifying glasses on. Tell everybody what you're doing right now.
Okay, well, I'm just about to start on him. I might. First of all, I've got to remember to keep it on the camera as much as possible, which is always difficult. You hear the guys on the videos when they are doing demonstrations on their figures that it's hard to, because you're working on the figure, you're not always looking at the camera. So if I go off camera, you'll have to forgive me a few times. But just looking at him right now, I painted the flesh on the face. I painted his mustache a general brown color, which was a bit of a darkened mixture between a dark brown or an umber and a light brown. And same with his hair. So I might put some layers into his hair later on. I'm going to put a bit of pinkishness on his face. I'm going to be doing his lips. I'll put in the off-white on the eyeballs, and I'll be putting some colors underneath his eyes. So if anyone's got any questions as I go on, I'll probably finish off with his eyebrows. So if anyone's got any questions as I go, shout out, and the boys will see it.
When you do skin tone, do you always use the same skin tone? Or do you mix your own skin tone? And same thing for you, Warsman. Do you always use the same skin tone, or do you make your own skin tone? So are the pigments kind of different with each figure that you guys make? Both question for both of you guys.
I'll jump in first. With so many moving parts on, the Mattel figures, I try to do as little skin painting as possible, just because of paint rub in the joints. So I try to find a paint that matches what Mattel puts out, which is Kislev, matches nearly all the Caucasian skin tones, as you can see. But they do have like a more tan color, which is what I'm going to give Francine, and that's the Cadian flesh tone, which is probably what Zash is holding up to. And then for like the Junkyard Dog, those arms I don't want to paint because they will, get paint rub in the shoulders and in the elbows. So Citadel also makes a Mornfang brown color. It's going to take a couple coats to match it up, but it will get there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, for Mattel's, it's trying to do as little painting as you can, and not have to, start from scratch with every skin tone color.
I see.
Yeah, so what I like to put a base skin tone down, which is basically what Warren just said. I actually use a product now that I don't know if anyone knows of. It's called it's by Dale Rowney, and it's a flow enhancer. I don't know whether you can see it. I can't tip it up too much or it'll tip out. But it's a flow enhancer, and I do a lot of mixing water in with my paints and so forth to feather it out, and then I'll even take a lot of the paint back off the brush. Just the flow enhancer tends to give it a bit more. Number one, it gives it a bit more life in the sense that it'll last longer. It won't dry out as fast, and also it tends to blend it in a bit nicer. Some people think it's a load of shit, but I'll leave that up to each person on their own merits. I kind of like it. Maybe it's a psychological thing more than anything. But yeah, for me, when I'm doing faces like this, basically a lot of the time you don't really see much happening in the first few coats, because I think subtleness is much better than going all out. And sometimes it will show up later on a little bit more when you put the sealer over the top. So what I'm doing now is I'm just rosying up the cheeks a tiny bit on him, and adding a few more colours into the face, and it just gives it a bit more depth, I find.
Let's see.
So this is very watered down version of a skin tone with some red in it, and it becomes more of a wash. But you're not putting too much on. Got to be very careful how much you put on as well. It's all right if you do go too far. You haven't ruined it. You've never ruined it. You just go back with the other color over the top. It's trial and error. I always go a bit too far and go, well, that's it. I've gone too far. I've got to put some of the base coat skin tone back down and bring it back and start again, or just try and lighten it up with the base tone skin tone. But
No, I've seen your work firsthand. It looks good. The detail that you put into it is good. Like when you just do the skin tone, the whole face and the lips, that just has that one natural tone. But you do add a little touch to it, like other guys too. And that little extra does make the figure look a lot better. That's for sure. Every little extra thing you do does make the figure look better.
Yeah, well, I personally think so. I've had a few people question it a little bit here and there in the past, saying it's not LJN, it's not how they used to do it. They
but
were very basic, simple.
Everyone does their interpretation of their line, right?
Exactly.
And who's right, who's wrong. There's how many great customizers out there, and the way they do it is different than anyone else. Who's to say what's good and what's not? The fact that you're doing it is better than not doing it, right? There's a lot of There's a lot of keyboard warriors, right?
Well, you do whatever you enjoy. Basically, I enjoy doing this. This is how I like it to look at the end, and some people like the more cartoony look, which is great. I like them too; they're fantastic. But this seems to be the way that I go about it and enjoy going about it. So, yeah.
And I was just about to jump in. I like about Zash's work that it blends in with the LJN aesthetic. Yes, he does go a little bit beyond what LJN would do, but it doesn't really leave the realm of the LJN aesthetic. Mm-hmm. At least in my opinion.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm just trying to get focus happening because that looks blurry, doesn't it?
No, that's just your quality of work.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks focused to me. It's like I've been drinking or something, but.
Hey, Zach,
well, now, yeah. Okay,
I've got
this one I'm using right now is a 3-0 Raphael. Which
no idea what that is.
Yeah, well,
no idea.
The zeros are basically how many zeros it is how thin that the brush becomes. So Raphael's renowned for their points. They've got a very, very sharp point on them. I like using. The only problem I do find with them is the fact that I think they're a little bit long for a lot of the things. I like a very short. They call them spot brushes. I like the spot brushes because they're very accurate. If you're doing eyes or something like that, you can be very accurate. But if you've got a long brush, you can sort of be a bit hit and miss with it. Unfortunately,
the bristles can bend as well too on
very
on the
true
long brushes. So, is that a synthetic or is that something like a sable brush?
No, this one's sable.
Right.
This one's a sable brush. Yeah. So look, they are a little bit expensive, but
they're an investment though. I mean, if you look after your brush as well, then they're made to last. And if you don't want to use sable, if you don't want to use any natural animals, the high quality synthetic brushes are extremely well done and good to use as well. So, but I don't think most guys worry about denuding some little critter of their hair.
Well, I also find what I'm doing now, I went a bit dark on the lips there. You've got to be very careful when you're doing lips because it can turn to a sort of lipstick look. So it's all right if you do go too far with the reddishness. You just get some skin tone color back and you blend it out with a bit of water and you just wash it over again and do a few washes and you come back. Like I say, you never go too far where it's ruined. So why not have a go at doing something different and seeing if you like it. If you don't like it, just paint the skin back over it. It's very simple. You never stuff these things up.
Hey,
How
Zash,
long- Yeah. Sorry, David.
no,
you go ahead.
I had a not serious question. So, did you use a sable brush with your Miss Elizabeth?
Yeah, well, I thought I was going to.
A fine brush.
I don't even know how to answer that.
I mean,
Okay, Sash, I was going to ask how much drying time you got there in the blending. You were using a flow medium, and flow mediums are really quite good for removing hints of brush strokes as well and creating a bit of body. So how long you got to mix and rework that, what you got on your little palette there?
Well, right now that stays. It's quite cold in here at the moment. We're in winter, so look, it really depends on the humidity and.
What's cold in winter in Australia?
Not Canada cold.
It's
Okay,
probably 12 degrees.
Oh, come on, man! That's like spring and fall weather. That's t-shirt weather for us. Come on, man, cold. Throw some balls.
It's been very cold here in Melbourne. Very cold. Some of the nights have gone down to about 2 degrees. That's 2 degrees Celsius.
2 degrees.
I know. Right.
That's a sweater. Let's just wear a sweater and you're good to go.
I'm gonna say something here. There's a color called that Citadel do. It's called colored witch flesh. I don't know whether I'm saying that right. It's a flesh color, but it's a very, very super. This one's quite old, so it's a bit chunky, but it's a very it's a very white looking flesh. Now this is the color that I use on my eyeballs. Because I don't like anything sharp standing out with my figures on the face anyway. I like it to be all sort of blended in. So I use this instead of white on the eyes, and I also use it on teeth because teeth are never white to me anyway. So especially my teeth, I'd probably use an ochre if I was doing my figure, but this is the color I do on my eyeballs, and at this stage now I'm going to put some on. You try and get it accurate. I've probably got a bit too much paint on for doing this, but you try and get it as accurate as possible. But it doesn't matter if you go out of the lines because you can just go back over it when you're doing around the eyes with your color anyway.
So much work is going into this. It's unbelievable. Guys who might be at the other end of the customizing trail, like buying them, can actually see how much is just going into the face here.
And I can't wait because I know I'm going to get a few of them that you'll be making soon. So you could keep going with those sable brushes, whatever you're doing. I'll just expect to work whenever it wants to arrive at my doorstep. Have fun doing it.
I think you should just be forced to make all your own work now, Dwight.
Nah. I know what Jeremiah said last week that I could do it, but that's not the whole point. I actually do enjoy having other people's work in my collection, right? Like I actually enjoy that collection part, right? So like Kevin Swales right now is working on a DDP for me, and I'm very happy because that one was crazy. And plus, with Diamond Dallas Place, that's my initials as well. So it's like a figure so it's like a kind of a figure I wanted, but it was in the bottom of my list because he was WCW. Yeah, I know he came to the WWF, whatever, afterwards, but he was to me, he's a WCW guy, right? The way I look at it. But the fact that how Kevin Swales did it, is probably one of the best.
In my opinion, and I didn't have an opinion on the figures during the whole competition and everything, I thought that Diamond Dallas Page was one of the best custom figures I've seen. So that was magnificent. And I like Dr. Warsman's, little old school advertising that he's got there. So was it Dr. Warsman's old time 100% natural good time family customizing solution? And if you drink it down, not only will you paint better figures, but you'll get rid of COVID as well.
That's right. And your teeth will be white.
Yeah, or actually, speaking of teeth, Ted Arcidi had really white teeth, and he was he studied dentistry at Tufts, so which is just an interesting aside there. So,
I mean, folks, if you haven't been watching for the past 30 minutes, this has been interesting. I mean, if you wanted to know learn, start customizing. I mean, this is, this is mastery at its finest. I mean, I am thinking about, and just want your feedback in the comments, to have more customizers on to do sessions like this where they're painting something, they're sculpting something, they're doing whatever they do for this customization. I mean, if you would like that, hit me up in the comments or hit me up at the Figure Guys on Instagram, Facebook, and on Twitter, and email me at figureguys@gmail.com, and we'll try to get some other guys on. We are booked until the end of the first season. That's December 20th of 2021. So, I mean, we could have other guests on between that, have an extra show. But, I mean, these customizing shows, when Zash came to me, about a week ago and said, hey, this sounds like a great idea, I was like, this is going to be amazing. This is a kind of a teach and learn thing. I mean, I can't do this, but maybe someone who's watching tonight will pick it up and say, hey, we got to start somewhere. So this is a great place to learn.
Now, Warsman, I noticed you're painting some fine detail there. Are you referring to any image, or are you just doing this from what's already implanted in your head and following the rendered sculpt lines on the head that you got there?
Just pretty much from memory, and Tom did do a great job of sculpting his beard.
Yeah.
At least, on this one, Ivan Koloff. I've painted this head a number of times, so it kind of, I'm sure Zash has painted the same figure a few times, and it becomes kind of muscle memory.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say monotonous.
No.
For me, painting the same figure over and over, which I'm doing at the moment, I haven't actually told many people about this, but I'm actually starting a line of limited edition carded figures, and I'm doing series 1 at the moment. I'm doing 10 of each figure in these 3 figures, so that's 30 figures. I'm up to my 7th figure at the moment. I'm trying to do a figure a week of each one of them, as well as my other customs, and it's starting now to get to me. On the 7th figure of each, I'm really starting to feel the pain, but you've got to battle through, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, are these figures that you're creating? Have you said who they're going to be, or is it something that you kind of got to wait to figure out?
I haven't announced it, but I'm happy to announce it right now if you like. So there's going to be Jeff Jarrett. There's going to be Razor Ramon and Yokozuna. It is the biggest Yokozuna out at the moment, I believe. Yeah, I guess I can't really give too much more away, but there is different variations of each figure. Put it this way, there's not 2 of the same Razor Ramon colors in the whole pack, so you're going to get 10 different colored Razor Ramones.
Yeah, and we had a great question from one of our loyal viewers and listeners, and kind of a part of the Figure Guys family right now. Shad, he says, do y'all tend to always do brush strokes in the same direction or alternate per layer?
No, alternate.
Yep,
I just do all over the place. Sorry, you go, Warsman.
I tend to alternate between layers, especially if that first layer didn't really lay down very well.
Yeah. So for me, I'm doing the top of the eyeball right now, and I know Warsman will feel my pain as I'm doing that because I'm trying to do the eyelashes.
Question for Warsman: Are you gonna enter one of the custom LGN competitions?
Yeah,
I think you should.
I think DDP talked me into it.
You should because you do make a lot of heads for the guys. So I want to see what you could come up with.
We're a bit off camera on that one, Zash. If you can move a little bit to your
it's probably
right,
it's probably a good thing, Brutus, because I made a mess of it. But anyway,
no, that's okay.
No, I'm doing the eyelashes, and I was trying to talk at the same time, and it's not a good idea. But what I will say, and that's fine because you can just go over it with the skin tone over the top and the white of the eyeball once that's dried. But what I will say, a lot of people use black as the eyelashes. If they do eyelashes, not everyone does them. A lot of people use black. I used to do that as well, but I've found, just in my opinion, I'm not saying it's the only right way, but in my opinion, I don't use black anymore on anything that's not a tire. So if it looks like it's got black hair, I will, like, have it might be an African or an Islander that's got really black hair. I paint it black, but I'll always put an umber wash over the top of it because hair is never, ever, ever solid black.
No.
But I use this raw umber for this.
Not
It's
if
probably
not if you get a good coloring on it. Straight black you can. Okay.
yeah. Well, I use raw umber so much. It's probably one of my most used color. If you haven't got raw umber, then I suggest you just get out and grab it because you'll never turn back. Raw umber is a color that everyone needs to have. Right now I'm doing the eyelashes with raw umber. The hair on this was a mixture between raw umber and brown. So it can darken up a brown if you need it to, or it can do so many different things. I just wanted to throw that one out there. I don't use whites on face, and I don't use blacks on face. That's just my personal thing.
And speaking of your custom, the LJ or the line with the carded line, how many hours is it going to take you? I mean, is it like per like how many hours per figure? I mean, or you do like one thing on a figure, do the same thing on the next one, and then kind of go down like a process line?
Yeah. Look, they've been different. Some are straight colors, some are like a pattern attire. So it depends on each one. And right now, I probably left the harder ones to the end because I just wanted to get some out finished at the start. And now I've got the harder ones to come, which is kind of good as well because I like the challenge. So it kind of keeps me more interested in the fact that I have to work out how am I going to do this checkered pattern on this attire. I have to work out a system of doing it. So, yeah, I've got the harder ones to come. There's still a bit to go. I'm expecting to have these figures out. I'm still waiting on some packaging from our man in the US, Todd Tomeo. He's making me some cards and stuff like that to put them in. I've got a packaging machine that I purchased a little while ago that's going to make the shrink bubble. Is that what you call it, Brutus? Shrink bubble or something?
Yep.
Yep. So that's going to go around the figure. So I've still got quite a bit to do, but maybe 2 months, 1 to 2 months.
Nice.
Somewhere around there.
Question for Brutus.
Yeah.
So now that everyone's getting questions going around, so the viewers that are watching, everyone that loves customs and custom mania happen, people want to know is there a process happening now with book number 2? Just for people to know.
I'm just making a digital custom right here now. So we'll just
Who you making? Who you making right now?
Working on. I'm trying to get Steve Gatorwolf has been a big problem.
Nice.
So that's a good question. Book 2's in. I'll call it in pre-production. So what it is, it features all the guys and a lot of the girls who got some sort of push at some time but didn't get a figure. Now, we know the big names, and there's been many figures made, but there's a lot of other lesser names from that 84 to WrestleMania 6 period. And so I've been creating digital customs of a lot of those ones who are not likely to get an actual physical custom. And I'm still about 20 figures short on that. And then the book will be similar to the other one, but I don't have to do the LJN research and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I just need to research the guy's wrestling history and then get a story from each person, just like last time.
Yeah.
And put that in there. But essentially, got to sort out the figures first because I've got to have them all in there. And so, I might put out a list down the track of like the last 10 or 15 I need. And particularly a lot of the female wrestlers are hard to get. So that's where things are at the moment.
Is it going to be a hard copy or a digital copy?
Oh, no, it's a hard copy. I mean, all the
Perfect.
design is always made to look better in print. I mean, some people have seen a digital version of the LJN book, and there's just no comparison.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the high gloss pages and all that sort of stuff. And, it really pops that way. I mean, you get to see it and feel it as well. The best thing about a digital copy is it's portable and you can search for information quickly. But other than that, hard copy is the way to go.
Exactly.
Mr. Warsman, what do you? I see you're making some progress on your stuff tonight.
Yeah, Stevie Richards here is coming together pretty quickly. I need to switch over and work on Duke the Dumpster a little more because I actually have a body ready for him.
That is amazing. We had or actually not a question, but I guess it's the Facebook user. Of course, folks, if you're watching us online and StreamYard asks you, hey, register your name or put your name down, then we can see who you are and give you a shout out on the program. It says, glad I'm not the only one who can't cross the line while painting. I saw you flipped him over to do the right eye. That's what I do.
That's by an amateur. What's his name? Joseph Palmier. I think he might have only made 1 or 2 figures before.
I'm gonna say a quick piece here. Some people ask about my eyes and stuff like that and how I do them. I've just got a basic. Yeah, I've got a basic grey color here. Now, obviously, everyone's thinking, why would you use grey on eyes? But that's what I start off with when I'm painting the iris on a figure. So first of all, I've got to figure out where do I want the eyeball to sit. Do I want it slightly rolled over the top eyelid so it gives some people say it gives an angry look, but I think it also can give quite a placid look. Or am I going to have it slightly over the top eyelid and slightly under the bottom, like most eyeballs would sit? Or am I going to have it slightly under the bottom? The only way you do it slightly covered up by the bottom eyelid would be if you were doing some sort of psychedelic figure like, what's his name? The guy with hepatitis, what's his name?
You have to be more specific.
Abdullah is who I was thinking. If you're doing an Abdullah, then yes.
Yeah.
But basically, I'm going to do a dot because I want this one looking straight forward. Now, if you were doing your figure looking straight forward, that's very universal, and it's going to do the job for 90% of the figures. You want it looking dead forward. So I've just done a dot exactly where I want it to be looking. Now, every so often, you might put it in the corner of the eye or something like that. I know someone did a figure a while ago. Sorry, am I waffling on too much? What did you say, Dwight? Was that
I didn't say anything. That was Brutus.
Oh, was it?
I was sorry, you said the corner of the eye. I was just channeling Hacksaw Jim Duggan then.
Well, I watch a lot of figures that, being painted and stuff like that is a little thing I do. And someone was doing a great figure where someone had a crossbow and they were shooting a crossbow and the head sort of doesn't turn when you're shooting a crossbow. The head's looking, sort of straight ahead where your body's facing and your eyes turn to where the crossbow is going. And that was a great little thing of showing where the eyes would be pointing if you're looking down a crossbow. But there's very few figures that really work for eyes in the corner. But it just shows that it can be a point of difference if you do that. So I'm waffling on. I'm sorry. I do that a lot.
Definitely steady hands, because there's no way I could do like that perfect detail like that on the eyes. My hands, no way in hell. I could roll a joint 3 seconds. Eyeballs. The hand is like shaking as I'm going, right, because it's such a small area that if I mess up, I messed up. Because like unlike you guys, like I try to mix my paint because I try to do all my skin tones a little bit different, right? So when I set myself to do a skin tone, I have to finish it because I don't know if I'm going to match it again. So I have to finish that figure, at least a skin tone that night, right? So I always do my skin tone first. So after I do everything afterwards, I have to be so careful that my hand is shaking the whole time. So when I'm seeing you guys do the eyeballs right now and you're going there so many times, that's crazy. I go there maybe 3 times, just put the white, the black dot, the other dot. That's it, because I can't go there that many times because I get too nervous to mess up.
For all you kids watching at home, that's a lesson. Just say no to drugs because it ruins your eyeball.
No, because there's no way you're gonna mess up.
Well, I'll give you a tip right here, Duane. What I'm doing to get this a perfect round sort of dot is it looks blurry. Does it look blurry to you guys? Why can't this thing focus? Maybe it's got a manual focusing thing. Let me see if this button does anything.
Yeah, the camera's a little bit blurry, but this is late shift in the LJN factory, so
yeah. So yeah. Look, I don't think I'm going to get that right. But what I'm doing to get the pupil in, or this isn't the pupil. This is the underlayer of the pupil. I'm doing tiny dots. I'm not trying to do it all in one go. I'm not trying to brush it on. I'm dotting it on. Now, it can't be done if you try and paint a round circle. It just cannot be done. You have to do tiny dots. I'm going up and down in this motion.
No way.
Okay.
I can do that.
So basically, you're slowly getting it bigger and bigger. The iris. And it's important to also make sure you've got enough water on your brush, but not too much. If you put too much water on, you know what's going to happen. It's just going to splurt out. But if it's too dry, you're going to be dabbing there and getting nowhere. So this is where a spotter brush comes in handy. All my spotter brushes seem to last about a week, and then they become frayed out. I told myself on this episode I'm going to shut up and not do much talking, and I've done nothing but talk. Warsman, over to you.
Yeah. What should we talk about?
I mean,
Talk about whatever you're doing. Just to stop me talking.
Something.
Oh, I can say something. I can see a comparison in the application styles between Zash and you, Warsman, in that Zash actually has a more phenomenological approach where he moves the figure around to apply. You have this centered one, your workspace actually focused and centered down there. Do you find that really helps you, having it just, everything's at hand and you can just work and manipulate things right down in the focus of your gaze there?
Yeah, I'm not typically that organized, but when I know I'm going to be on somebody's podcast, they don't want to wait for me to fumble around looking for stuff. So I tried to pull what I thought I needed, but I'm typically not that organized.
And one more thing, do you ever actually, by accident, drink your mixing water thinking that it's coffee?
Yes. Yes. Oh,
I've only made that mistake once. I've only made that mistake once.
I've done that so many times. That's why I'm the way I am. Oh my god, I can't believe you said that.
I only drink soda, so it had to be pretty darn dark for me to think it was the soda I was drinking.
Hey, Warren, and I just had a question.
The main concern when it's so late and you... Sorry, David. There must be a delay. You go.
Oh, no. Just had a quick question for Warren and for you, Zash. I mean, as a person who doesn't do customizing and is terrible at painting, do you find it easier or harder, or is it about the same to paint a, say a Mattel or a Gloober, someone smaller than an LJN? I mean, do you find it harder to get the detail, or is it something that you've done forever, so it's not a big deal to y'all?
The company who had the license before Mattel was Jackson. Their figures were just a scale or two bigger. And yeah, there was a big difference switching from painting those eyes, which were bigger, to the smaller Mattel-sized eyes. So yeah, there's a difficulty level increase, I think, the smaller you go. That's why Zash adds so much extra stuff to his, because, he's got a little bit bigger canvas and the talent. But I couldn't imagine putting all that work into one this size.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a lot smaller than an LJN. I mean, it's just, the talent and the skill. I mean, if you had shaky hands, you definitely could not. I don't think, Dora, you couldn't. I mean,
oh, definitely not. I wouldn't even attempt that.
Yeah, but
okay. So I'm just gonna show. I'll put the grey down on the eyes. Now you might be thinking, why would he start off with grey? Why not just go straight for the brown or the blue color that that you're going to end up with. Well, the point of this is, for me, is now I'm going to go with the actual iris color on the inside of that dark gray. But what I'll do is not go all the way to the edge. So by not going all the way to the edge, it gives a darker shadow around the iris, which everyone has on their eyes. They have this dark sort of circle around the actual color. So I'll be putting it quite watered down, but not watery in the respect that it's going to splurge everywhere. And I'm not going to put too much on the brush anyway. And I'll do a few coats of it, and it'll slowly start changing the color. But if you'll also notice that the iris is a bit darker on the top than it is the bottom. So what you do is you start off with one coat of the brown, in this case, over the whole eye. And then on the second coat, I'll only put it on the bottom part of the iris. Now, what that'll do is people won't put a bit of a shadow on the top of the eyeball. So I'm going ahead now and putting the brown on and trying not to go all the way to the edge. So it leaves that dark grey around the outside. And like I say, this brush is a bit longer than I'd like it to be, but I'm going to roll with it. Super hard part, this, because it can really turn to shit fast.
Now I have to look up a picture.
Yeah. At least when you're doing the grey, initial grey, you can always, if you do put it in the wrong spot or get it somewhere not right, then you can always just paint the white back around it and maneuver the iris where you want it. So I've put one coat of brown over it now, and I think with the grey underneath, it also gives it a bit more depth.
We can see that, yeah. Even with the slight blur on the camera, we can really see the depth now coming out of the eyes.
Yep. So what I'll do with that, I'll let that dry, but in the meantime, I'll look at what can I do next. I'll put a bit of color in the face that I'm quite happy with it, actually. I want to put a bit more dark blue underneath the eyeball, because everyone's got a bit of dark blue shading underneath there. So I will probably go out and do that now. But I'm also itching to wax some eyebrows on him, because it always looks... You can see a lot more of what's going on when you've got eyebrows. So I might just put some eyebrows in first. And to do that, my favourite colour, raw umber, which I've got some on the palette. So I know every man and his dog likes to just get the colour they want and swoosh, do one line, eyebrow done. Which is fine. I used to do that as well, and it looks good. It's LJN. There's nothing wrong with it. But just the way I like to do it now is very, very fine hairs.
Jesus, no way I can do that. That is talent. Good for you, man.
Right now, I'm just putting a very, very light coat on. This is the first coat of the eyebrows. And quite often, I'll do a few different colors on the eyebrow as well. So just lighter the better. You can always go back and do as many coats as you like, but once you put too much on, it's on. So just feathering a light coat on there, and that's pretty much dried on the other side straight away. You don't need to wait for this to dry, because it's on so light. You've got such a tiny amount of paint on there that you can go back and go straight into it and do the next. So I might also say this figure will be going out to Joe Sprox. He asked for one of these a little while ago, and I had one in my collection that I wasn't too happy with selling because it wasn't what I was proud of. It was from a little while ago. So I said to him, don't worry, I'm going to make a mold of it and do you a better one. So that's what I'm doing right now. I don't
Aren't
like
you nuts?
selling.
The only figures I sell are the ones I'm not happy with.
Yeah, I was going to say that. And look, don't get me wrong, I do too. I like to get rid of them as well. But I do sell them very cheap if I'm not happy with them. Or I sell them to someone who's just happy with a custom that's, an everyday sort of custom. I like Joe's collection and Dwight's collection and
I
Jeff
don't have a
Bett's
collection.
collection.
I have a collection of customs.
Yeah.
For these guys that are
One or
avid
two.
collectors, I like to think, well, I don't want my figures to be at the lower end of their scale. I want them to be very proud because they're very strong collectors of the world. So I want them to have my better work, if that makes sense.
They're the elite collectors. They deserve
That's
that.
right. That's right. And when they're showing their collection off to people, I don't want to have to cringe when they show a figure I'm not proud of, which has happened to me before. I feel like saying, can you take that down? Okay, so I'm just about done these eyebrows. I don't think I'll put any lighter brown in them. I'm pretty happy with the way they are. One eyebrow is definitely drooping down lower than the other. And the eye's not necessarily drooping down, so I might just lift it up a bit on the edge.
An eyebrow lift. That's good.
And if you do that and you put it in the wrong spot, or you're not happy with the placement of it, easy fix. You just make it a bit higher or a bit lower how you want it, and I'll show you what I'm about to do next to fix it up, because now I've ended up right now with one thicker eyebrow than the other. So you grab a bit of the skin tone. You probably all know what I'm about to say anyway.
Burnt umber?
No.
Bring back the bullshit something you say every week.
Yeah, exactly. So now I'm just going to paint some skin tone underneath it. So I'm lifting the eyebrow up, if all that makes sense to anyone.
I'm gonna add a dose of reality in here. Do you think the Fink spent so much time saying, "Oh, gee, my left eyebrow is slightly thicker than my right eyebrow," before he went out to introduce the show? So the love and
Definitely
care
not.
going into this is amazing, and people who are not all that familiar with the customizers and see their work for sale can get an insight here into how much work Zash and Warsman are putting in just for this part. The face, which is what humans, gravitate to in order to look at.
And just painting in general, like just painting colors like yellow, takes many, many coats. It does take a long time. So to go into a work, like people do actually do a lot of work, and a lot of credit to all the guys that put out so many figures out there, right?
Yeah. Sometimes certain colors I have trouble with blues sometimes as well. Reds can be an issue in the fact that they don't cover. There is some tricks around it, but there's definitely some troublesome colors.
Especially when you're colorblind like me.
You
Reds
are?
and greens. Yeah, reds and greens are a little tricky.
Wow.
How's Uncle Ivan coming along?
He's getting there. I'm going to touch up his eyes a little bit and let his beard dry for a while, but we'll see.
I'm just popping another layer of brown underneath the iris now, just to give it a bit more lighter tone underneath the iris. And then I think I'll be able to call that eyeball done. It's not too much work involved in it. Something else you can do if you really want to go all out, which I've done a few times, is get some different tones of brown or blue and touch it around the actual iris. Just tiny, tiny dots. And what that'll do is give it kind of this lines appearance in it, which is quite nice. But to be honest with you, I haven't really mastered that skill yet. it's something that's a work in progress.
One tool I like to use to help me with the eyes is this thing called a ball burnisher, and I think it's for like leather working or making bead projects. I don't know exactly what it's for, but they make all different size, and there's a teeny little ball on there, and I just dip that in the paint, and I dip that on the eye to make a nice round circle. To put that first circle down. So
I've heard of a few people using that, Warren, that tool. It's an interesting one because I tried it and could not master it for the life of me. But it's interesting that you've mastered that quite well. I've seen you do it before in your videos.
Yeah, it keeps me from putting down way too much paint, as I'm prone to do. Kind of like right now.
So what, you just dab it in the paint and then dab it where the eye is?
Yeah, just get a little bit on the tip of that, and then I would dot the eye. Let's see if I can find one to do. I did Stevie already. We can do Beulah real quick. I'm sure that's been said before.
Yeah, folks. I mean, if you have any questions for these two great customizers, we have a few minutes left. Be taking some questions, and I mean, folks, we could be, this could last for hours because it's not anything that you can just whip together. I mean, it's a process. I mean, it's a long, tedious process, but it's a process that both of these guys love to do. So if you have any questions, in the next couple minutes, just hit us up in the comments section, and we'll try to get them on the air.
Right now, I've watered down massively some dark red. I've watered down so much that it's basically colored water. And I'm putting a tiny, tiny bit on my brush, just there, tiny bit on my brush, and I'm just dabbing the corners oh so gently, just to soften that corner line and give a bit of a bloodshot sort of look to the corner of the eyes. Now, what I'm going to do next, just to soften him up even more, is put a really watered down wash of yellow ochre over the white of the eyes, and that is going to just give it a super soft look without it looking yellow, which I've gone too far many times before and had to redo the whole eye. So it is a thing that you can get wrong, but when it works really well. You can use a light skin tone as well with it, which I'm going to just whack down here. A tiny bit of that with a bit of flow enhancer and water, and that is going to be too much still. Watered right down. Then your paper towel, which you never leave home without it, wipe some off. So you've got a tiny bit on there, and just work tiny bits on there. And I think I've gone too far. So I'm going to wash a little bit of it off. You can sometimes save it like that. You've got to make sure you take most of it off. That's the thing. But it will soften it up quite a bit.
We have a great question, another great question from Shad. In both customizers' opinion, what has been your favorite figure that you've done?
Mine's the CM Punk, I think, that I did. I think that was probably my best figure to date.
Mine is just one that I had the most fun working on, was adorable Adrian Adonis. Trying to piece together an 80s dress and sunflower hat, or sunbonnet for her or him. Whew. I haven't laughed that hard in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an exciting episode. And Zash, I know you were talking to me earlier. I'm not sure if you're going to reveal it tonight. There was something in a mold. Was that something you were going to reveal tonight, or is that something that you were going to do in a later episode?
I actually cut it open, mate. I had an order and I had to get them out. So I was going to do it on the show, but unfortunately I had to cut the thing open. But inside was a Wimpleman. So that's something that I'm going to be sending out to a few people.
I mean, Harvey Whippleman. I mean, that's you don't say many of those, but yeah, I'm going to go to Zash and to Mr. Warsman before we get out of here tonight. What tips would you give to people that are starting out, even people that have been doing it for a while? I mean, since we're covering painting tonight, any tips that you could just, give to people tonight? We'll start, we'll start with our guest of the hour, Mr. Warsman.
Yeah, I would just say do it. Don't tell yourself you can't do it. Try it. Don't talk yourself out of trying it before you do it. It's so easy to look at somebody who's been painting for 25 years and going, oh, hell, I could never do that. Well, that's not the point. Yeah. It's the journey, not the destination. Like, you'll get a lot out of it and you'll get better over time. But just, the creation process is so much fun. Just do it.
And
that's great. That's great advice. I like that. But I would add to it and say, be brave. Don't be scared of mucking something up. Take chances, take risks, because in the end, you can always redo it. You can always paint it again. This is just paint. It's just taking you a while, but the time's worth it to take a chance, try something out. If it doesn't work, then just redo it. If it does work, then you might have learned something that no one else has bothered to experiment and take a chance and do. So it can really set you apart from everyone else if you do take a chance and make people wonder, how did he do that? How did he get that like that? So, yeah, that's basically. I'm putting some light blue wash around the eyes right now to finish up with, just to give it some color underneath the eyes. And I'll put a bit of dark underneath the nose, and then I'm going to be pretty much done with this. And I might even paint a bit of light hair on the top, because he did have a bit of hair on the top as well. So I might just dry brush a bit on the top. And in the next half an hour, I'll try and dry this off. And in the next half an hour, I'll put some photos up on the Elite Customs page of it, if anyone's interested.
I mean, I know we've had a lot of interest in this episode tonight, and folks, I want to do this again. Zash wants to do this again, where we bring, some great customizers in the whole process of putting together, customizing a figure, painting, and there's so many steps that we could have gone to tonight, and we just want to do that again. So of course, if you want that, just hit me up on the email at figureguys@gmail.com, or follow us on Twitter at @thefigureguys, and go to thefigureguys.com and just give us your opinion. And just wanted to also congratulate once again the first ever Custom Mania champion. He has been voted by his peers and the votes counted by the world's most honest person, Bruce Valentine. Duarte, I just wanted to congratulate you again, and hopefully you can defend your title maybe next year.
Maybe I just retire and just retire as champion.
I mean, you
never have to worry again, because I could go as champion and that's it.
I mean, you have the belt, you have the money, you have the trophy. I mean, your place is just going to be full of cool things and a big trophy and some money in your wallet. So it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, but it's all for fun.
Don't go the Iron Sheik road. The Iron Sheik, he said, I was going to take the belt back to Iran. I'm going to just defend it once against this Howdy Doody again. And then they swapped in Hulk Hogan, and the Sheik never held the belt again. So
that's why I got to actually go, and I just got to stop and just not enter, so I could actually do it and just stay champion.
That's
like
right.
I say, I'm undefeated.
Stays in Canada, yes.
Oh, yes. And like I said, your belt will be there hopefully by the end of the year. I mean, hopefully in the next 2 weeks it'll be there, and you can display your your winning figure with that Customania belt. And Warren, I just wanted to also thank you for coming on and just sharing your knowledge to our array of fans tonight.
Absolutely. Sorry I'm not painting an LJN right now, but maybe next time. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, let's see, folks. I mean,
that was big news about.
I'm sorry, big news about
it was
what?
Big news about Warren thinking of coming into Custom Mania. Big news about Warren possibly being in Custom Mania next year and in some of the comps, upcoming comps.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm coming for DDP.
Oh, but he said,
nice
but,
guy. Why is someone
everyone
have to
is.
pay for?
now he's retired. Now I think he's going to retire now that he heard that some more big guns are coming in. The
It's
one
like
good thing
the Royal Rumble when Andre steps in and then suddenly everyone stops bashing each other up and they go after the big guy.
Yep.
That's what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
They always go for the guy at the top. They never go for the guy at the bottom. But I mean, folks, I mean, this competition was amazing. I mean, Customania was amazing. It was a great contest and competition. You know, it was all for fun, put together by Zash, and of course, Brutus counted all the votes. I mean, it's one of those things that you don't know who you're competing against. Yeah, I mean, you could maybe figure it out if you've been doing this for a while, but a guy who is, started out and does a great figure, he could beat DDP next year. I mean, he could knock him off that. He won't be the king of the mountain in 2022 if we get some more competition for him. But folks, next week we have the great Nick David on, the creator of the LJN Customania belt. Of course, we'll be talking about belts next week and a bunch of other things. And we have one more question, one more comment. Shad said, keep the belt in Canada. I would assume Shad lives in Canada, so I'm just saying, I don't know, maybe the United States wants it. I'm not.
There's other Canadians out there like Derek Danforth and Brian Fowler that were entered, so maybe they could win it. We'll just keep it up here.
Are you going to cut it in half and share it with your girlfriend?
It belongs around the waist of Iron Mike Sharp.
I mean, hey, I mean, he can do whatever he wants.
I'll give it to my Jack Tunney figure. He could hold the belt.
Yes.
Oh, the evil Jack Tunney. But on that note, as always, I am the Pod Daddy. I am David Fine. We'll see you back here next week.
Thank you, Mr. Wonderful, for everything.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Wonderful, and you're in a better place, and we will see you back here next week.